Hello, everyone. This is Miss Nook with Vibe Barber College. All right, today we're going to tackle Chapter 5. Chapter 5 is dealing with implements, tools, and equipment. All right, some of Barbara's most favorite things come out of this chapter right here. Implements, tools, and equipment, Chapter 5. All right, a couple of learning objectives. We need to list the principal tools of the trade used in barbering, meaning our combs, shears, razors, cake clip, things like that. We need to also describe when to use different combs and brushes. Just because you got this comb that's your favorite comb, don't mean that you use that for each client, for each haircut, okay? You can't use the same comb for a taper haircut that you would use for a afro haircut, okay? You're going to struggle with that afro using that taper comb, right? All right, so the third learning objective we have is to discuss and identify the types of hair cutting shears. We got two types of hair cutting shears. We got German and then we got French. The fourth one would be to identify the parts of the hair cutting shears, meaning the whole breakdown of the shear. The fifth learning objective is to know how to properly hold the shears, for hair cutting. Learning objective 6 is to show how to palm the shears with the comb. And number 7 is to describe the two types of clippers. Learning objective number 8 is to identify the main parts of the clippers. Number 9 is to show the different ways to hold the clippers for hair cutting. You all already know I like thumb on top. Let's see, the next is to name the two types of straight razors. One is not prohibited in the state of Tennessee. Learning objective number 12 is to show how to hold a straight razor for shaving, honing, stropping. And the last one is to show how to hold a straight razor for hair cutting. All right, so, well, no, that's not the last one. The learning objective number 14, is to describe the functions of hones and strops. 15, show how to hone and strop a conventional blade. Number 16 is to identify the types of equipment and supplies used in barbering. Let's see, learning objective 17 is to identify ways to remove hair clippings. And now the last one, which is learning objective number 18, is to show how to perform two towel wrap methods. Okay, so let's jump right in. Implements, tools, and equipment. So in understanding the purpose and capabilities of your implements and tools, you got to know what tool is for the job. If I have a taper, like I said before, I'm gonna use a taper comb. If I'm doing an afro, I'm gonna go in with a afro comb, or I'm gonna go in with a pick. All right, preferably. You're gonna also be needing to know the parts of your implements, understand how to hold and use them, and using the barbering equipment correctly and safely. As a barber, your principal tools of the trade will be, as I said, combs, brushes, shears, clippers, outliners, razor. In addition, you will use appliances such as your blow dryer, thermal styling tools, that's your curling iron, to perform finishing and styling work on your clients. Just because you did the haircut, a lot of times that's not all that client is requesting for you to be able to do. So we got different types of combs and brushes. And here's the thing. A lot of times people say, oh, you can't use a brush with cutting hair, but that is false. That is an old wives' tale. That is completely false. You can use a brush when you are cutting hair as long as you are using it in the same mannerism as you would use a comb. Meaning that just as you have one comb per person, or if you run out of combs, you stop, disinfect the comb, sanitize the comb and everything. It's the same thing with the brush. You're gonna have one brush per client. If not, you're gonna stop, sanitize, disinfect that brush. All right, so you can use a brush. Some barbers, they just prefer to use the brush. Some barbers prefer to use the comb. I started off using a brush, but now I prefer the comb. So it's up to you. Just make sure that you are sanitizing and disinfecting, or either each client is getting a fresh one. In barbering, we treat people how we want to be treated. You don't want nobody using nothing on you that they used on a previous person, so we don't do that to other people in return, right? Okay, so let's see. In using the combs, you always want to make sure that that comb don't have pointy, sharp teeth, so that when you're combing the client's hair, you're not scraping or scratching their scalp, because that can be very much so uncomfortable and hurtful. You want to make sure that the teeth have a rounded end. At the end of the teeth, you want to make sure that there's like a small rounded ball, and you can try them out by on the back of your hand, and you can try them out and see how it feels. And watch your pressure. You know, you don't always be so heavy-handed on the clients. Whether you're using a comb, whether you're using a brush, a clipper, liner, razor, don't be so heavy-handed on the clients. Watch your pressure point and make sure that your pressure is consistent. Okay, let's see. Another thing we want to talk about a little bit would be a styling or all-purpose comb. It's usually constructed of both narrow and wide spaced teeth, and is used for general hair cutting and styling. So general hair cutting and styling could be something pertaining to just an even all over, or maybe that client wants a shape up. I'm not saying that they have a fro to shape up, but they could have, you know, and they need to get that shaped up. You will go with the all-purpose styling comb. All right, then we have a flat handle comb. It's evenly spaced teeth. It works best to achieve, how about a flat top style? So a lot of times when you get military clients that come in, even if they've been discharged from the military, they may very well still wear their hair in that military cut or that high and tight cut. So you would definitely need that flat top comb, because that's going to allow you to be able to achieve that haircut for that client. All right, and I'm gonna tell you something right now. If you can achieve a military cut, that flat top cut, you gotta cut, you have a client for life. That client's going nowhere else. All right. Then we have the wide tooth comb. It could be used to control larger amounts of hair. It can be used to spread relaxer cream, detangle the hair, or even just comb the hair all the way through. All right, so that's that wide tooth comb. Then you got your tail comb. That's the best choice for sectioning longer hair, because it has a rat tail at the end of it. Okay, and then, you know, you also have the picks, which I've already mentioned. So when you are holding the comb, I want you all to refer back to page 107 in your chapter 5 in the platinum, the gray looking textbook. It's showing you proper placement of holding that comb with the thumb. You want to not be timid with holding that comb, or else you're going to constantly be dropping combs back to back. So you want to definitely have it firm and secure in place, okay? Then we got a couple of different types of brushes. So we have a synthetic bristle brush, natural bristle brush, mixed bristle brush. You got a paddle brush, round brush, vented brush, and then you got a wet brush, okay? You want to go through those different types of brushes, because that's how you're going to know what service will require which brush, okay? So please be sure that you know that Let's move forward now with talking about the hair cutting shears. So I've already gave you a hint that you got two types of shears. One is French, the other one is German. So one has a tang, the other one don't. So please make sure that you refer to your textbook on which is which, and also knowing the different parts of the shear. They have a figure 512 in your textbook. That's on page 130. All right. Let's move forward a little bit more. So in knowing about the clippers and the outliners, so clippers and outliners are two of the most important tools when you are hair cutting, okay? Rather it's one clipper and one outliner, two clippers, however many that you have in your back bar, in your toolbox, but you always want to make sure that you got at least one clipper and at least one outliner, okay? That is the goal. Another name for outliner, it would be trimmers. Trimmers would be equivalent to outliner, okay? So knowing the parts of the clipper, you got figure 527 on page 136, and it will give you the different parts of the clipper. So please memorize that. Please memorize that. Now back to these outliners, okay? So you got a straight blade trimmer, and then you got a T-shaped blade trimmer, okay? So it's good to have both of them. It's also good to have a set of liners or outliners that is particularly for older people, as far as seniors and as far as kids, little kids, babies, because their skin is very sensitive. Their skin is very thin, which means that it can tear very easily. So please be sure to know that if that elderly person or if that kid, that baby is jumping, but maybe the adult that was in your chair before them wasn't, it's not that they're being woo 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 about it. It could just very well mean that your liners or your outliners are set too closely, and it is hurting them. It is hurting them. So believe them. And another thing, watch your clients' expressions, their facial expression, when you are coming in with the clipper or the outliner on the trimmer on their face. Watch their facial expression, because if they're this or doing this, that could very well be a telltale sign, without them voicing it to you, that it is it's hurting them. Okay, so adjust it. Please adjust it. You got a couple of different types of clipper motors. You got the rotary, which is the universal. You got the pivot and the magnetic. I am not a fan of pivot motors because it has a slow cutting action, and a lot of times with the pivot, it won't be able to keep up. If you got 20 clients waiting, the pivot is just not going to do it for you. But one thing I love about the pivot is that when I'm cutting straight hair, I can cut the hair while it's wet. So that's one thing I do like about the pivot, I have to admit. So in describing the blades and guards over on page 138, figure 5.3, you got a couple of different guards and blades, and those will be detachable blades, which means that you can remove that blade as a guard and then put another blade back on it. The lowest cutting blade would be the 5-0 blade. Okay, the 5-0 blade would be the lowest cutting blade with the changeable blade that goes on the magnetic clippers. Let's move forward a little bit more. Over on page 140, you got a couple of different parts of the razor. You definitely want to know that, because you're going to lead with the point of the razor. You got to know where that point is. You got to know where the tang is, so you can know where your finger goes. You got to know the shoulders, so you can know the 3 that goes across. So please make sure that you memorize figure 539, please. Then we have razor shapers. There are a variety of razor shapers. They're also called hair shapers, and they are available at any beauty supply store, even Amazon. One style made of lightweight metal with a pivot and open handle. Its construction leaves the majority of the blade visible. So that would be a razor shaper, and that's figure 541 of your textbook. Let's move forward a little bit more. Okay, so here's the thing. In the state of Tennessee, we are only prohibited, we can only use a changeable blade straight razor. In the state of Tennessee, we cannot use a conventional blade straight razor. Conventional blade straight razors use the strop, okay? Another thing about the conventional blade straight razors is that they use the hone. This is complimentary of Mr. Joe Jenkins. Thank you, Mr. Jenkins, for this. All right, so this is considered to be a hone. Hones, you got several different types of hones. The hone is going to smooth out the blade of the razor. So you just want to make sure that you read up about the strops and the hones in your textbook. And then we're going to move a little bit forward. You definitely want to know the different types of drapes and capes. You know, you got wet capes for wet services. Wet services meaning anything where you're going to use water, basically, okay? If you're not using water, then you're going to use your regular draping of a cape, which is your chair cloth, your barber's cloth, and it's made of cloth, obviously, okay? You always want to make sure that you have plenty of towels and linens. Each client gets its own razor, its own neck strip, its own comb or brush. Each client also gets their own towel, okay? Because you're not going to use a towel after no one, even no one in your own house. So we don't do that to our clients, okay? We treat people, once again, as we want to be treated. You want to read up about your hot towel cabinet. That's a good thing to have as far as for your scalp steamers or your facial steamers or for razor shaving. You want to make sure that's a great investment to have. And a latherizer is also a great investment to have. Then the chapter talks a little bit about blow dryers. When you're using a blow dryer, just make sure that you're moving that heat around. You're not being still with that blow dryer. You're moving that heat around with the vent brush. Knowing what brush for each service is a good thing to know. Then it talks about electric massagers, hot towels, hot irons. Thermal means heat. And then when you are removing hair clippings from a client, you do not use a neck brush or a neck duster, okay? That's not sanitary because you're not disinfecting now. You're not sanitizing it after each client. That's impossible. So what you're going to do is that you're going to use a towel and you're going to wrap that towel around your hand and you're going to remove the loose hair and the debris from the client with a towel, That neck duster, in fact, is actually for your back bar area to remove the hair, and the chair, and even the cloth. You can use it to remove hair, but it's not to touch a client's skin. Okay, it's not for the skin. It's not sanitary. All right. Let's see. Then over here on page 154 of your textbook is showing you how to hone the razor, the material, implements, and equipment that's used with it. Procedure 5.2 is showing you how to strop the razor. Then it goes into the towel wrapping technique on procedure 5.3, as I was just telling you all about. Okay. And then the chapter goes into the review questions and then the chapter glossary. So please just make sure that you're flipping through this chapter, you're reading it, you're doing the review question, you have memorized the glossary terms, and it will make a better result for you being able to retain the chapter. Okay, so this is Miss Nuke with Barber College, and we're talking about chapter 5, tools, implements, and equipment. Thank you. Have a great day.